Thank you, everyone. Let's call the Farmington High School Building Committee meeting to order for Wednesday, October 18th, 2023. Let's take a second to stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is stand back. Yeah, start. What's that?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move on to item C for public comment. No, we don't have anybody in the room at this point. So do we have anybody online?
We do have 2 attendees online, but I'm not seeing any hands raised, so we'll give it another moment. All right, I think we're all set.
Okay, perfect. The next item on the agenda is to do the tour of the Farmington High School construction site. This is going to be open just to the building committee members. For those of you online, we will time this to be right around a half hour. And we'll try to stick to that schedule. So if those online want to make the meeting afterwards for the other stuff that we have to discuss, we do have a few items that we need to get through on the agenda. So to be mindful of everybody's time, we'll try to keep on schedule. We'll make our way out. Nelson, safety gear, do we have any extra for some that didn't come prepared? Beautiful. Okay. So let's take this moment then. Let's get geared up. Let's go do the tour.
Sure.
You got for like right now. I would just make sure everybody's figured that everything.
All right, let's get the rest of the meeting going. Thank you, Nelson, for the tour and for the explanation and bringing us to the areas. It was really nice to see some of the larger areas and get a little scope of what's going on. Little context, I guess, is the best way to put it for us. I don't get to visit it every day, so. And thank you for keeping it to that 30-minute time frame. So we have more members online now. So, all right, moving on to the next agenda item E. So can I get a motion to approve the attached September 20th, 2023 minutes?
Oh, second.
A motion and second, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And here's opposed, hearing none. Thank you. All right, moving on to correspondence. I don't think I saw any in here.
Nope.
So no correspondence today, so we'll move on to the report. As you probably know, I don't look like Meg, so I don't have I'll prepare for you, so unless Kat has something to offer in the chair report, we got nothing to report.
Nope, nothing to report. I think everything will be hit in the upcoming reports.
Okay, perfect. Town council liaison report, nothing to report today. So, Board of Education liaison report.
We had a presentation on the FF&E, we're gonna get today, so that was passed unanimously by the board.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Moving on to 1928 Building Committee.
Yeah, nothing new to report, just remind everybody that Silver Petrocelli is working with our department heads with end user meetings to meet the needs of everybody. We're hopefully at the end of November going to get the design development documents with them getting some pricing, possible value engineering, with a goal of late September with the completion of the documents and bidding to align hopefully with the demolition of the high school. So all's going well and on schedule.
Perfect. Any questions for Chris? All right, thank you, Chris. Moving on to architecture report. Richard.
Thank you. I just need to report on a couple of things. In the interest of time, I'll be brief. I know that Susan has a presentation that she wants to make about furniture, but I do want to just make a couple of observations. The project is on schedule. If you visited the building periodically, you'll see that things are moving very quickly. I'm very pleased with the pace of the work. So that's one thing. Another thing is the 1928 building update. Devin, if I could ask you to show that promise to Meg and Kathy, I would previous meeting that I will share with you. This layout of the 1928. It's really the layout of the site outside the 1928. So, good luck to the monitor for that.
The document you're getting is two-sided. I think he's on the other side.
Can we see the other? This one right here. Okay, you can start here. So this was not handed out, but I sent it to Devin at the last minute. This is just a reminder of where we were before the 1928 referendum was decided. We had placed the tennis courts here, sort of to the northwest of the 1928 building. And then when the decision was to now include the 1928 building on this site, we had to make some changes. And so now we can go to the next slide. Yes, this one. So the first thing we did, we had to meet with Silver Petrocelli and determine what's the dividing line between projects. So we created this diagram so we had an understanding between both design teams as to what's in the high school project and what's in the 1928 project. So this red dotted line represented that delineation. So, and then we've proceeded with the design work. We're now in the design development phase. Next slide. This is the diagram that was handed out. So you may recall the tennis courts were here. We've now placed them to the northeast direction, north of the 1928 building. The delineation line between projects is shown similarly around the 1928 building and its parking lot, which is located here to the east, to the west of the 1928 building. So
all this diagram represents is changes that have been made in the parking here. The configuration of the parking is a little bit different. And then the same number of tennis courts, 8 tennis courts for the high school. It's exactly what we had previously, only those were located down here. There's been some changes in the walkways between the parking area, the 1928 building and its parking lot. So those have been now located. And then we have some plantings. I think there are a total of 8 additional trees. We're going to release not only this drawing, but all of the utility drawings, the topographic drawings to O&G so that O&G can start budgeting. We're looking for a big credit.
Yeah.
Big credit. Because what we've done is lowered this field. And so we think there's going to be a savings in earthwork. It's a much more regular configuration of the tennis courts. You're going to be bidding on the tennis courts again. In January, right? So, but I believe the net change is it will end up as a credit. And so we're going to rely on O&G to come back with an itemized takeoff. So that's where we are in terms of the 1928 impact on the Farmington High School site. Any questions?
So with the previous design that was basically set up as an add-on to, have you done that in the contract? How did we do the tennis courts before?
It was a bid package. It was one bidder, and then we rejected the bid, and we actually put a GMP allowance of that bid amount.
Of that amount in there. Okay, all right. So
we'll put it out to the bid. We're expecting a revised specification from PSAP and my team at the office time slot in January. And we know that there is interest in it, so we should get some good numbers.
Richard, remind me of the orientation in north, south, east, and west here.
And north is, well, there's an arrow on the lower right corner. I always think of north toward the left here.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions for Richard?
So I'm going to turn it over to Susan in a minute, but I do want to make one more, actually 2 more points. One was during the walkthrough with you. I know you pointed out the air handling units that are going to go on the roof. And I thought I'd share this with you. So air handling units are very efficient, compact packages that are placed on the roof. They provide heating and cooling, dehumidification, etc. And it's a good way to do HVAC systems in a building. There's an added benefit which you may not be aware of. So back in the olden days, when we would do HVAC systems, we would build what's called a machine room very often in the building. And if you visited those buildings that had machine rooms, you'd go in there and they'd be chock-a-block full of heating equipment, cooling equipment, pipes, ducts, all kinds of stuff. Unfortunately, when it comes to schoolwork, the square footage allocated for the machine rooms would count against you. They would be part of the gross square footage. With a rooftop unit, such as you saw out in the field, there's no square footage for the building. So in terms of reimbursement, it's a much more efficient way to plan a school building. So that was one point I wanted to make, but I didn't want to interrupt your presentation because it was great. The second point I would bring up, and it was brought up at the last job meeting here at the trailer, which is there's signage that is part of the construction package that O&G is doing, including a plaque. And I said, we'll probably spend more time deliberating over the names on the plaque than a lot of other things. So I told O&G and town officials who attended the meeting that I would do my first cut at it. I'm sure it's going to make the rounds in town to make sure that I want you to review it, and the reviews will take time. So I'll do a pass at a plaque layout with names, and dates, those sorts of traditional things. But watch for the plaque, and we'll let you input. Okay, Susan.
Yeah, Susan's giving a FF&E presentation, because later in the agenda, there is a motion to approve the bid package. So we'll get through it now during the architect report, just so when we get to the motion, this is related.
Okay, so I just want to start off and just let you guys know that we had really great team to work with. I mean, we had Sam helped us out, Scott was even involved, and Russ was involved, and Kim and Kathy, everybody contributed quite a bit to this. And we spent a lot of time looking at furniture, kicking the tires. There was a pilot classroom, we got samples in, we visited showrooms. So there was a lot of thought that went into all of this furniture to begin with. So the whole concept is we want to make sure it's stuff that's going to last, that it's going to work for you today, and it's going to work for your curriculum later down the line. So in light of that, we made sure that everything was as flexible as possible. We want to make sure that the students are happy with it, that they're comfortable, because when you have comfortable students, they learn better. And anyhow, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. So let's go to the next slide. These are our critical dates. Of course, we got our BOE approval the other night. Tonight, we're hoping to get your approval. November 1st is our PCR with the state. And that's when we're going to sit down and go through everything, make sure it's all up to snuff. And as long as we get our approval, November 15th, we're hoping to issue the bids. The asterisk is just assuming that we get our approval letter from the state in that time period. Typically, they have 30 days, but they've been pretty good about getting things out the door pretty quickly lately. December 6th is when we are hoping to get the bids back. And then we will take the bids. I'll take my portion of the bids back to the office and assess them. I'll create a bid tabulation. And then we will present you guys with the our award recommendations and tell you, this is the bottom line. This is why we would recommend this vendor over this vendor and all this other stuff, very similar to what you had to do here with the initial construction of the building. And so then we are hoping to have those done on December 18th. And then that should give the town some time to get the award letters out and issue the purchase orders. So we're hoping to get the purchase orders out January 8th. And that will give us about 6 months for the furniture. So that's more than enough, or 7 months for the furniture. So that's a really generous lead time. So we don't anticipate having any delays with production or anything like that. Next slide. So this is starting off with the classroom pods, and you guys all are kind of familiar with the layout at this point, but just to refresh your memories, of course, we have the classrooms around the perimeter, the science rooms. There's 2 science rooms in each section, and then they're stacked, as Nelson mentioned, so that you have, biology, physics, and chemistry, not in that order, but on each level. Then in the center of the room, in the center of the pod, rather, we have the teacher rooms. And so the teachers, instead of owning their classrooms, they're going to have their own workstations. So this was an early rendering that we had a vendor do to just kind of show what we could do with the furniture in this space. So the desks that you see here are essentially what we're looking at. Each teacher will have their own work surface. They'll have their own storage that locks. They'll even have some coat racks in there for, winter stuff. And then we have down the middle, what we decided to do, we have a couple of different types of tables. That's what you're seeing here. We made sure we have both standing height with a foot bar there, and then we have seated height as well. This gives the teachers additional workspace. It gives them a place to collaborate and to meet. And then in the middle, we wanted to make sure they had some storage in there because there are copiers in each one of these pods. So we gave them a little bit of storage so they have places to put all their office supplies, their copier, their toner, and then there's even some space to have some shared supplies, books and binders and that kind of stuff. So then in between the teaching pods and the classrooms, we have soft furnishings. This is what Nelson was talking about earlier. So we have the soft furnishings here. These face a whiteboard so that they can kind of collaborate on this. We also have, these are more loose furnishings, so they can pull these together. And what you're looking at, this has a handle and you can't see it, but there are casters on there. And so the kids can just grab the chair, move it around to where they want. They can collaborate. It makes it so loose and flexible and easy for them to, gather together and meet on different things. Same thing, this is also a mobile ottoman. that will have casters and has a little tablet so they can have a place to put their laptops. And this is kind of for the fancy ones who want to have a little wobble stool. And then, of course, we have the mobile whiteboards. Next slide. Just to kind of hone in a little bit on what we have for the classrooms. We have an array of furniture. There's a lot of time that we spent looking at classroom furniture. And this will give you the maximum flexibility. So you have students will have a choice. They can sit, we have desks, we have standing height tables, we have just, round tables, and all of these things can be, moved around. They're all on casters. The desks themselves are like wheelbarrow type movement. So they have casters on two legs and just glides on the others. So that, and they stack. So if the teacher wants to open up a classroom and have a lesson, they can pile them up, push them off to the side, and everything can be done on the fly. There's no downtime trying to rearrange the classroom. These are standing height flip top tables that will have a dry erase work surface. So students can collaborate, flip it up, share what they did with the rest of the class. We also have these mobile triangular tables that are standing height with a little foot bar. Again, for more further collaboration with the students. And again, this is the half round table that you see here. It will have casters, even though we just want a picture of it. For the seating, the chairs that you see up there are have been tested. They're very, very comfortable. They're very durable. They have a lifetime warranty. We have adjustable height wobble stools, task stools, and these cantilever chairs they have a little bit of bounce to them, which makes them really comfortable. So next slide. Moving on, this is the main concourse that you guys just walked through. And this should give you kind of an idea of the aesthetic that we were going for. We wanted something to really kind of have that feel. Of course, it does sort of have that mall feel.
University feel. Better word.
Okay. And that was really what we were aiming for. That's really what we were aiming for with this, and you'll see in the cafeteria as well. We really wanted it to feel like a grown-up space. We didn't want to have this really super institutional looking kind of place. So we have plenty of soft furnishings. We have high tops and low tops and bar stools, and we have some planters in here. And this particular piece right here is a mobile green wall that will come. It has its own little tank, like a 20-gallon tank, and grow lights, and it's self-watering. I made sure these are located where you have power in the floor. But Kim was talking about possibly opening up a horticultural program, and this could be part of that, as well as the plantings that are in the planters themselves. Next slide. Cafeteria. Again, we're going to have some more planters. And then what we decided to do in order to sort of make the space, break it up a little bit and bring down the scale a little bit, we've got rows of these banquettes that you see here. They've got the dividers between them. And so it gives them not just a way to kind of break up the space, but it's also just an alternative way for kids to, sit, an alternative place for them to sit when they're eating. The chairs are high density stackers, and the tables will all be mobile with flip top tables so that the custodians can roll them together and kind of roll them off to the side so they can clean. I know that Sam would have really liked to have seen something different because of the maintenance, but as I said, we were trying to avoid that institutional look that we would have gotten if we'd gone with like the folding cafeteria tables that had the attached seats. So we kind of felt like this was a compromise for them. Next slide. Now we're looking at, this is the media center, and it looks down over the cafeteria. It has plenty of soft seating. There's places like these pods. You can kind of see these little like squiggly things here. Privacy pods. You have seating that has like the sides, the privacy sides. So it gives the kids a place to study independently, but there's also a lot of places for them to collaborate. And of course, the library is no longer really the library, it's a media center. And so because there's so much, electronics these days, that the power there will be power located in a lot of the pieces of furniture so they can plug in and charge up while they're working in there. And over here is where you see the Edge Studio. We're going to have a TV broadcast desk in the furniture package. And then there's like the media center classroom. And we have a special workroom over here. So let's go to the next one. So the offices, this is just sort of a typical of the type of furniture that you're going to see in the office. It's going to depend upon who's using the office and how often they're in there and what their particular needs are. So if they need more storage, they'll have more storage. And if they only really need just a place to touch down, then that's what we're going to give them. But this just kind of gives you a general idea of the aesthetic that we're going to have in here. These pieces right here are some examples of what you might see in some of the waiting areas in the main office and outside in the career and counseling offices. And there are a lot of admin places in this building. We've got just your main office, of course, the career counseling center. We have all the department heads. You have all of the athletic department people, the coaches, everybody. You know, there's a lot of people. You also have your sped people, your alt high school and everything else. So there will be quite a bit of admin furniture in this package. Next. Okay, so this is the music area. And of course, we want to make sure that we're providing secure storage for the students' instruments because they're pretty high value product. And we don't want anything walking away. You can kind of see here in the corridor, this is where we have a lot of the music storage. And there's also these two rooms that are in between. This is the band room, that's the vocal room. And in between here, this is all for storage for things that are on like the open carts, like the string instruments. Each of these two rooms will also have a conductor stand. And of course, they're going to also have music stands. These are posture chairs that are specially made for people who are, you know, playing musical instruments. And I think that's it for this. Next slide. Okay. Art studio. We have this entire C-wing, second floor is basically the art. And so we have a ceramic studio with a kiln. We've got what you can see here for equipment. We have a pug mill, which is what they use to recycle all the scraps of clay after they've had a class because there's always left over. We have a clay extruder and wear cart and wedging table. All of the teachers, all of these classrooms are going to have some version of mobile storage in them. Again, that's in the name of flexibility. Try to make sure that everybody, you know, you might have greater need for storage in another room at some point, so you can just wheel it into another space. So this is your 2D room. You have a digital room, you have a photography room, you have a craft room. And then this is a maker space right here. And so that is going to have a little flexibility to it, but that will basically be overseen by the art department. On the first floor, just below this, there's a STEAM lab as well. And I'll talk about that a little bit in just a second. Let's go to the next slide. Here we go, technology. So these right here are the engineering room and the app lab. You were standing in the engineering room when we were looking down into the gymnasium, sorry, it wasn't the cafeteria. So that was the engineering room that we were standing in and looking down into. And the app lab is right next to it. And this is for very technology heavy courses. So aside from having the computer desks, of course, which they're going to need, they have a huge amount of storage that a huge amount of product they need to store. So what we decided is because they needed to also have additional work surface for projects and everything else, we are providing them with these mobile storage units. These will also have, some of them will have power in the work surface so that they can plug in their, whatever it is that they're working with. It's a mix of different types of storage so that they can kind of have that flexibility. And another thing too is that we're hoping to have slat wall all around the perimeter, we should have it. And then we're also specifying all of the accessories that are going with that slat wall so that that again is in the name of flexibility. Those pieces can be used and rearranged in whatever way that they need in order to accommodate the products that they need to store. They'll of course have a task chair, and we're always taking into account ADA. So every room in this building should be having, or pretty much every room should have an ADA space, whether it's a desk, whether it's a butcher block type work surface like this or whatever. So next slide. This is the bottom line here. So the numbers that you see here kind of give you an idea of the breakdown as to where all the money is going. We made sure that we wanted to maximize your reimbursement, so we tried to avoid anything that was not going to be eligible for reimbursement. So we do not have anything that we know of in this package that is not reimbursable unless the state challenges something, which we don't anticipate. So the bottom line is we had a dollar budget of 3.6 million. The estimate is 3,428,429. And that will leave us with a contingency of 171,571. So hopefully, if you guys are all on board with this, we would be thrilled to get the approval tonight. If you need to see anything else there, this is sort of a high level view. I didn't want to bore you guys with all of the little itty bitty things because trust me, they can get pretty boring. But in the packages that went out, you will see the item data sheets, and those had every single piece of furniture that's in the entire building. So if you want to drill down and really see it, you can look in those packages. So that's the end of my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
No, I don't think we'll do that. So let's talk about the cafeteria, just because I also work in a high school and I see the custodial staff. It's a lot of time. That is every single day you're moving every single chair. And so do we look into, I know you don't want the industry feel, but did you guys look into that as an option?
Actually, we looked at a lot of different options. We had some vendors do some layouts for us to see if they could have some other suggestions. And it seemed like everything that they were coming up with was just industrial. It was all just so, it all had the attached seats, which just don't feel good. And it just wasn't, and some of the ones that they came up with, their numbers weren't right in the amount of seating that they could fit. Okay. So we needed to make sure that we could seat about 500 students in the cafeteria. We've got 3 waves of students. So that was another factor that we have to take into consideration, is the amount of space that this furniture takes up. So we did look, I will assure you, there were a lot of emails back and forth. I sent a lot of suggestions over for Kim to discuss with the rest of the people, and we kept going back to this every time. We keep saying it needs to be something that feels collegiate. It needs to feel like grown up, and it was the only way to avoid being the whole institution. It was a tough call.
Well, I guess I am just thinking of it from the maintenance standpoint. Like,
yes,
is it going to be something that the poor custodial staff is going to be there for hours?
And that was a concern that Sam had as well. Yes.
So I guess
we did what we could. Honestly, we did what we could. But it's really hard because there's always that compromise between trying to make sure that it's going to feel like a real, welcoming kind of a space versus having something that's going to kind of, feel cold and uninviting. So it was a tough call, trust me. It was really hard for us to try to look at AI for different options.
And then I guess the second thing I noticed is a lot of the shared furniture, is that cloth that's like in between?
It's actually, most of the furniture is going to be vinyl. Okay. Or coated fabrics of that type.
So it's easy.
Yes, there's some fabric furniture, but the fabric that we specify it all has a finish to it that makes it extremely cleanable. Most of it's going to be moisture resistant in general. It's fabric, it's called Krypton, which has a moisture barrier on the back of it, and it's got a special stain resistant type of coating so that it's just like beat up and run right off. So yes, definitely. But especially like in the cafeteria and in that concourse where we know there's going to be a lot of food, that's all I need.
Maybe it's just more of a question, but maybe look at that. From the board meeting, you gave your approval. I mean, it's just anything out of that you guys looked at this. I mean, I appreciate it's a very fulsome undertaking on everybody's part. But anything of note when you guys consider it Q&A?
A lot of questions.
Pretty happy. They did ask about the color scheme.
Yeah.
But in general, I think everybody's pretty happy.
So I have a question. This gets to connectivity with people that are going to be using this, faculty, particularly in some of the specialty areas. When you get to the art spaces, I love how you were incorporating the workspace with storage underneath.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why that wasn't as present in the art studios?
I don't,
I just think of those as groups that are always looking to have storage, and
Yeah.
that design looked really well thought out and had versatility. I'm just surprised that they wouldn't request
well, they
something
do
similar.
have a lot more storage in terms of storage closets
Yeah.
and millwork. They've got portfolio storage, they've got several closets in that area, with shelving, with built-in adjustable height shelving. And quite a bit of millwork as well. So they don't really have like engineering and app labs. They had, when we first designed it, we just had a minimum of millwork in it, and they were not too happy about that. So we went back, we revisited it, and that's when we kind of came up with this whole slat wall thing as well. We had already talked a little bit about having the storage furniture, but there's also, they said, let's get slat wall as much as we can. They gave me their list of all the accessories that we need for each one of those different spaces. So the steam room, similar to technology, at engineering and that, the steam room will also have that slat wall. The slat wall can also accommodate monitors, so there's monitor brackets, so that you can monitor anybody doesn't want to have it in the room.
So the
There's shelving.
art people are all content with
The art
what they already have built in millwork, and they
Yeah.
feel those.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, well, first of all, in general, I wanted to say thank you to Susan. I mean, we spent a lot of time together, since last spring and even before then, and Susan's also spent a lot of time with our building leaders. So really those spaces are tailored to their specifications, and then following up again to say, like, is this what you meant? Is this what you want? And then just that process has been ongoing, and I really think that the presentation and the board and here just, you did such a great job capturing the vision of the building and like learning and for our students and for our faculty. So I just want to say thank you. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, there are a lot of emails in your inbox.
Yeah, no, and it's important, right? Like
Yeah.
there's the,
Yeah,
the-
you gotta get it right, you gotta all the details right. So, you know, if I get questions about something like, do they wanna have power in this? Do they wanna have this type of shelving? Do they wanna have this? I sent it all over to Russ, and he made sure that he talked with the teachers and any additional staff. We had a lot of time to talk about the engineering labs and the app labs. We talked a lot about the art state. Basically, we had at least 2 meetings with the end users early on and then later on. And then there were also additional follow-up meetings. And then there was the communication that I was having with Russ and Kim to go back again to the end users and say, are we sure that is right? You know, so definitely did spend a lot of time, because obviously the building is going to be used by these people. They need to be able to make it functional for them.
So the last question is, it seemed as though in the media area it had a number of the pieces of furniture that had the capacity to connect in, right? Plug in. Is that in the concourse area as well, and in the
We didn't do it.
commons areas?
We didn't do it in the concourse, but we do have, there's power on the floor in the
Okay,
concourse.
alright.
But we didn't do it in the furniture in the concourse because it's gonna probably be maintained a lot more heavily than it is upstairs, so that furniture is gonna get moved around a lot, and I know that Matt does not like the idea of furniture that moves around, that plugs in, so we wanted to make sure that we gave you something that you could use.
So the outlets are there.
The outlets are
Same
there.
thing in the
Exactly.
dining commons area.
Yes, yeah. Anything else?
More questions? Anything else? Moving on to construction manager report.
My report will be quick, as you can see, typically every month I'll present as far as work in place. We did a tour. Basically walk almost every area. We continue to work with PSAP, some of our winding down. Area F, which is the 901 central office. We're getting into the coordination process on that one and the CEO process as well. getting those contractors on, even though they're technically on board. And we did a mini kickoff meeting with that team, because there are some different trade contractors as far as that work. We're planning for 25 summer work. We're getting the main push before the winter is getting the parking lot area ready for the winter, so we'll be taking that next week. As far as energy builds, I've been meeting with Russ the brainstorm to expand on what we did last year, our energy builds program. We're gonna do it, hold it once a month, so the first limit for the fall season, fall semester is gonna be November 1st, and PSVP graciously accepted my firm offer. Was good desire, but no, they Michael Scott, Richard Archie, it's great that they're participating in it. What we asked was that they give architectural and interior designers career paths. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna alternate from the trades, so we'll do professional trades that you need a college career to the trades that you can go to trade school. So just to give a brief summary of the agenda for this coming year until May, which is June 5th.
Ready on that?
Yeah, it's a link to that class, but June 5th was the last day of school for the calendar, so we're not going to do anything in June. But November will be architects and for the designers. December will be carpenters and masons, because those trades, especially the mason on the ground face CMU, they'll be heavy into that work. Carpentry, it's not just your metal framing, you have flooring. You're doing the flooring, you're doing millwork, ceilings, that's all carpentry work. So there's plenty to show the students on that. January, I'll bring in the IAR kids with Westwoods. Actually, Westwoods is planning for 30 they'll be here for a field trip. So January, we're going to do a virtual classroom after get the kids out of school in the middle of the dead of winter. So we're going to have a Google classroom there. We're going to show them different technology, computer and design, if those kids that are interested on the design of computers and so forth. We'll have our BIM team and hopefully some engineers who participate. February we'll show the kids mechanical, plumbing, and electrical trades. Ferguson Mechanical is one of the contractors that are out here, and I mentioned when I walked through the skid for the in-wall plumbing for the bathrooms. They do a lot of prefabricated work here in Plainville, and then they come out here and install it. It's very efficient rate with the talk about those technologies with careers. And then in March, we'll do mechanical and electrical engineers. Hopefully we'll get going and this week, not because they will hold those two specialties. April will be construction managers. Our careers are college degrees, and CCSU has a great program. We one of the top programs actually compared to Rutgers, graduates, and state. They have a great program over there. Even my boss is a CCSU grad. All the guys in CCSU grad. So we'll do construction managers, and then May we'll wrap it up with civil and landscape engineers at that time. We'll start getting it's springtime. We'll be doing that type of work, and then we'll show the kids that that those career plans as well. We participated this afternoon in the career fair. So we did that last year. We're working with Steve Necko there, and we've got very strong as well. So that program is great. We're going the tour of the town council here. We've had the bill bag, and we're going to continue those tours as well. Daylight is actually starting to diminish, so those tours probably we shared a few dates. There's pretty early in the morning. That's I'm not going to go through the pictures, but if you want to yeah, my report is self-explanatory. Actually, those photos are all from last week and it's period ending, but I like to get photos of the actual, a little bit later. So basically, so your building A pod is on the far end, your building B pod. So as of this point, this week, all those windows are in and they're actually starting the sunshades on that east elevation. That's your third floor. So what I actually, because we weren't able to get to the third floor, so your breakout space with Susan showed you the furniture package there. So you'll have that furniture here and the furniture back here, but you're gonna have coffered ceilings with skylights. So that third floor, that space is gonna get a lot of that natural light. And then you have your teacher's workroom. There'll be some monitors here for a teaching wall. And then I think these are small group breakout small group rooms. Yeah. Last week they have the scaffolding up. This week they're washing down. So this hydromobile scaffold is on the opposite end of the building. Actually, the overhead doors on the inside have been installed. So those, you have your wood shop on this side and your auto shop, which will have your car lifts on the opposite end. This is the area C art studio wing where you have your 2D, your 3D technology in your STEAM classroom. So this is going to be another coffered ceiling. This is on the second floor because that part of the building only has 2 floors. Back of house mechanical room. So this is behind the culinary area. So this there's more mechanicals that are installed as of this week, but this was last week's photos. This is the cafeteria servery area. So where we were at, we saw it on the first floor. So in the direction that we were looking at, it was to your right-hand side. So the kids, your point of sales, your kiosks, your servery tables will all be in this area. They already started the first course of block, and on the far end, they started that ground face as well, but you can't see it in this picture. And this is your media center. I will not use library anymore. It's your media center. So you'll be able to see. So right now they're working on soffit work. Your far end, you'll be able to see into the cafeteria through window walls or through open areas. This is the auditorium. When we were in there, they placed the last course of concrete today. So as of last week, now the concrete is almost done. And that's your proscenium opening in your stage area. And this, where you see the rebar, that'll be masonry wall. That's going to be a scene shop storage. And this is the guidance counselor area on the second floor, right above the admin area in area E and Monteith Drive. So this year we did the left, in this picture, it's to the left, but when you're going up Monteith, it's to your right, the town hall side. We stayed away from the library side. Because of the temporary student lot, there's too much activity, students using it. We didn't want to interrupt that traffic pattern. So late spring, early summer, we'll finish that part off. But they've already seeded. Hopefully we get grass growing on this side. And they did some temp paving as well. That was as of last week. And CNG, by the end of the month, will do their final connection to the street, and then we can finish that work off of by the traffic light on Route 4. I think that's it. Any questions from the tour or my report?
All right, moving on to communications subcommittee report.
We met right before this meeting. We were reviewing content for a newsletter that we're hoping to send out right before Thanksgiving timeframe, just updating, Q&A schedule, general updates, photos, progress photos, stuff like that to get out to the community. On our website currently, we have a drone video that was taken probably June timeframe. ONG has another drone coming this week to get some updated shots, which will be really cool to see that progress. So moving along and just trying to continue the updates to the community.
Just something that we discussed too with this ONG builds is tying that and sharing that out in the newsletter and website, because we think that's a great thing that we need to do to promote that connection with our students and the school and what you guys are doing.
Great. Any questions on communications? Thank you very much. Professional Partnership Subcommittee.
Professional Partnership Subcommittee met this week. I'm losing track of my days. 2 days ago. Met on Monday to kind of start the conversation about some professional partners that we're going to be bringing up for services that we need in the near future. They'll probably start to meet a little bit more frequently to get things going and bring them. Everything would go through this committee. So this committee will probably start to see some stuff next month that's coming through that subcommittee.
Questions on the professional partnership? All right, thank you. Financial Subcommittee report.
Been busy with these subcommittees. Financial Subcommittee met last Friday. As always, they meet the Friday before the full committee meeting. They reviewed all of the invoices that are in both the central office package and the high school package, and reviewed change orders. There's a lot of change orders, so the decision-making group has been busy trying to get these things going so that we're kind of caught up on everything and bring it forward to the committee. So these invoices that you see in agenda item H have been vetted, and H1 and 2 have been vetted by the finance subcommittee.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on the financial subcommittee? Nope. Moving on to financial report.
So financial report, there is no update on the report that you typically receive, but I did want to bring your attention to some new reports that we put together. Russ, Arnold, and I over the past couple of weeks have been looking to try to get some regular updates on the status of our contingency and change orders for the committee. Like I said, there's a lot of change orders that are on the agenda and you guys are approving them, so it's helpful to see where that's going. So there's a couple of variations of things that we're given to you at your spot, and Devin has up on the screen. I'll just run through them. The first document is the owner's contingency log, and this is approved. So this is tracking everything that we've approved out of the contingency since the project's inception. Now, it's broken into 2 categories. One is change orders, and the second category is just categorized on the second page as other. Now, that has been design fee proposals, there's been amendments to TSK's contract when we brought on consultants, our third-party code reviewer, professional engineers. Some of those RFPs we put out earlier in the process came out of contingency. So you'll see all of those things grouped there, and then there's subtotals, which is the net result of all those changes that are being made. So this first one is the snapshot of where we are as of right now with our contingency. The second part of that is a forecast. So the second document, and for some reason, I don't know how to work our printer. Half of them are in color, half of them are in black and white, so I apologize. The owner's contingency log forecasted takes those things that are on the approved sheet, so all of the change orders, all of those things categorized as other, and then also takes a look into the future to kind of see what we have in the pipeline. So there's a category for pending. Those are items that are currently with the decision-making group. We received all the information. We're kind of going back and forth, vetting those before they come, through the rest of the process. And then there's things that say forecasted change orders. Now, forecasted change orders are subject to change. A lot of them are a rough order of magnitude or an estimate. Some have 0, but it's just kind of a snapshot in time as to say, okay, we've approved these, but down the road, we have these things coming. So there's subtotals. And of course, I printed these black and white, and you can't see the red that's in the red. So there is a net result right now or a negative result for the forecasted change order subtotal, but you can kind of see where we are now and where we're projected to be. So these will be updated as we go along. In a similar vein, we have we had fun with the logs recently. Another one is just strictly change orders. In the same token, it mirrors this contingency log, but it's everything that's been approved, everything that's pending, and everything that's forecasted, strictly change orders. And then there are two documents. One is for the high school and one is for central office. So I think you guys have been looking, I've been hearing some things looking for, we're approving these change orders now, but what do we have coming down the road, and what can we see? Where are we with our contingency? So we hope to keep moving these and giving updates at each meeting so you can see that snapshot.
Yeah.
And I apologize for the black and white.
Any questions for Kat?
In terms of the contingency, the project in this scope, are we in good position?
Yeah, when I just look at that quickly here, and back to the napkin calculation, we're roughly 11% of contingency expended, and we're what, 55, probably close to 65 million. So we're
out of the.
all the projects I've seen, we're in very good shape.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions? All right, thanks, Pat. No, there's no more reports, so you want to take your report. All right. Moving on to item H, new business. This one is a motion to approve the invoice package for Farmington Central Offices. This is just the monthly TSP for the central office. So we've seen this number come up month after month.
Yep, and this is for work performed through September.
And then we'll do a motion all the way at the end of the values. And then number two, the first one, same thing, but on for the high school being the monthly through September. The same goes for TSKP on the second one. And then I'll let ONG jump into these if you want to go through the rest of them. Starting with the 4.5.
Yeah, so at the sub-finance meeting, we go line item by line item. The original pay app from the trades was roughly 4.8 million. We adjusted it. Some of the trades were forecasted a little bit more than what they actually produced for that period. So it's been fully vetted. So the final pay app is 4,574,325.07. IMTL, we verified those invoices as far as the reports and hours. We actually on that board, there's a sign-in sheet specifically for IMTL, one for the testing lab and one for every other visitor that comes. So Michael Penza, when we get those IMTL reports, verifies that we actually received a report and they're actually here for the hours. Sometimes a testing lab will try to get full day when they're only here for 4 hours. So sometimes there's mistakes, not maliciously, but we actually did have them correct one invoice early on.
And there is that credit that Nelson's talking about is reflected in this invoice.
Yeah, there was a report that they thought they issued and they didn't, so it's reflected in this. IES, we did verify for that in the town as well. As far as this point in the project, this point in time, the 3,080 is fair for the work they come out here. They verified ABB, which is the blue skin. They've done some submittal reviews as far as the automatic temperature controls. So that's it's all billable line items in the schedule values that they go into. PCOs, I'll quickly just explain without going into the names, because these have been fully vetted, reviewed at a decision making group, at the sub finance group, to the design team, to us. It's but so they've been fully vetted. $62,762, it's a credit, it's a PCO that collected, various, changes, site work related. There was a proposal request number 16, reconfigures of the existing utilities over by the 900 wing. Existing conditions that were discovered once the shuttle was put in the ground, structures that were deeper, that we couldn't work around, so, with the design team, we reconfigured the work. There were some credits from Iapaluccio that, due to the CNG work that took place, they had the excavation backfill. There were some credits owed for work that Iapaluccio, the site contractor, didn't have to perform. There were a few RFIs as well. So what we did was we compiled everything. It was an overall credit. There were some ads, but with everything compiled, it ended up being a net savings to back to the town. The next BCO 44, we modified the kiln vent system. So your art studio wing has the kilns. The venting is a specialized system. It's not your typical dryer vent, so they have to modify the kilns to work with the kilns that the school's going to be using.
I believe these are existing films.
Yeah, those be just the kilns that are not new, but the ones that they have. So to coordinate that with the new design, some modifications have to be made. So that's $5,908, and it's not in the furniture package. PCO 45 added stainless steel hand dryers. This is for all the bathrooms, your gender neutral bathrooms, your girls' bathrooms, boys' bathrooms. All the infrastructure was there for hand dryers, the power, the housing. It's just the physical hand dryer itself. It is actually a higher end, middle to higher end model, not your highest end model. So that there's a lot of them. There's 23, Michael?
26, sir.
26. So you multiply that number by like $800.
$790.
$790. I round up. But yeah, thank you. You multiply that, it becomes a decent number. So that's furnish and install. So there's about an hour's worth to basically get the device on, wire it, and connect it and mount it. 27,105. PCO 46, auto shop welding curtains, the welding curtains in the auto shop to not conflict with existing mechanical or the new mechanicals. There would have to be a special hanging system to bring it down lower because that's a lot of open ceiling. So that was a modification, small amount when you look at everything else, but $2,014. PCO 48, it's a credit. The amount of poke throughs, which is your floor poke throughs for data and power, they were reduced overall.
And that was a result of actual furniture layouts that were reviewed by staff, resulting in fewer poke throughs.
So if you don't have the furniture in there, you don't need a poke through. So that was an overall savings of $18,000. Next page. PCO number 50, this was a IT department request. There's newer technology, actually multi-camera instead of stand if I'm saying something incorrect, but it's a better, it's just a multi-head camera where they're gonna, and the technology has changed in the last few years. So Matt Ross put out a request there. We actually worked this number originally was
it was 20. Now we reduced the quantity to 16.
To 16, but this number was around 52,000 originally. So the final number is 34,728. That's been vetted across the board. So that's the final number. PCO number 55, Stair 5 ramp rail approval comments. It was a submittal comment that came where the Stair 5 ramp railing had to be anchored a different way. There was additional anchorage points to the masonry to make actually a more stable railing. It's a delegated design, but with the design and the architect's office to get a safer railing, secure to the adjacent substrate. They did actually have additional labor and material of 6,406. PCO number 57, there's actually two PCOs that are door hardware related. I'm not going to skip over the 591, but the 59, PCO 59 is the same. There were some middle comments. That one is 15,075. And Richard, chime in if you could, but this had to do with the acoustical sound rating, the STC rating of the doors.
Correct.
And it was across all the doors to achieve the acoustical rating.
That's correct. So we had in the door schedule a note that the doors needed acoustic, certain sound transmission coefficient. From one space to another. However, the vendor or the supplier only carried frames that did not have the gaskets and devices that would make that rating. So it's not the door, it's the frame that needed all of those gaskets and devices. So that was an addition.
Yeah, and they carried base bid, and it was just additional gaskets and devices that they have to purchase. So that, and again, that's been reviewed by the decision-making group as well in the Sun Finance. Go back to the PTO number 58, which was the library. Again, we're not going to use that word anymore. So basically, this number is a small number, but there are a lot of adds and deducts in that PCO, and the backup shows all of it. There's actually it creates a more open space in that area, and there's actually a window wall. So the frame, the BP frame, the glazing, and all that. It basically the delta becomes a 591, and this is the formal approval on this as well. So that's PCO number 58. PCO number 61. This one's a large change order. It is a request from programmatically from the school. I'll let explain, but the basic, and it's 72,736. These are commercial washer and dryers. They're not your residential models. These wash and dry uniforms, equipment.
Right.
There's an ice maker as well, because your current ice machine is in the 900 field house. And in the winter time, if you have sports taking place and there's an injury, or you have students going, and there's another ice machine basically in the kitchen, you don't want to bring kids into an industrial setting where there's deli slicers and those type of equipment. So this would get your ice machine, the commercial washer dryer into the locker.
So this is the PE request.
Correct.
So phys ed as well as athletics need certain items. This 72,000 is not appliances. It's including utilities, piping, ventilation. It's a lot of stuff, and that request came late.
And it's labor intensive. The washer dryer itself is about $7,000, and the ice machine as well. It's labor intensive. We agree that this is a large amount. So what we propose, and this is how it was approved at the subfinance, was to do on the mechanical portion, time and material, not to exceed. So there'll be another PCO. Our superintendents will verify daily the work, and then we'll reconcile that PCO with whatever savings. Let's say it's 16,000 or 10,000 or 6,000. This way, you have a change order that you get reimbursement for, because you have a 6-month rule to get change orders to the state and to get the contractor to do that work. Then you just so the state is notified by getting that change order up there. It's a not to exceed, so it'll never exceed this number, but hopefully we achieve savings on the mechanical side. And on downstream, what makes this number bigger is from that location, they have to put a VAV, they have to get wiring, they have balancing, and they have to find a way back outside the building, and you have to basically go up 2 stories to the roof. So it's not, and there's, you know, again, these are large industrial size washer and dryers and a nice machine as well. And one other reason was during the winter, they don't want to be carting ice, you know, outside the building into the new high school.
Yeah, there is an ice machine that was already in the building, but it was locked away in the trainer's room. And they're like, that room is not always gonna be available. Not everyone's gonna have a key to it. So they needed to have it in a place that's accessible at any time, whenever they needed it for injuries.
It's used all weekend too for community events, so Parks and Rec and things like that, so.
We won't tell us that.
I think I'm just creating more context for the employees behind this.
But just to add context for it too, and I know we've said injuries a few times, but really when you have 5 different sports teams going out for practice, they're loading up their water bottles with ice and everything else too, and it's crowds of people around this, so that's why a small ice maker in the trainer's room or an ice maker in the kitchen that doesn't work. Like it's, you won't feel dehydrated and have that.
But again, that's a TNM not to exceed, and there will be another PCO to reconcile it once the work is done. And that'll be a few months down the road because this is it's labor intensive change order. The next 2 are credits. Our PCO number 64, it's a credit of 4,086. Additional cost and elevation. It's changed the wall type, a UL rated wall type to a different wall rating. So it actually resulted in a savings to the town. There was less sheetrock and framing involved with the new UL rating. And PCO number 66, which was a proposal request number 37. There was actually a double buy of Miss Metals in the auditorium area. So we bought it from one trade contractor, the Miss Metals contractor, and we're taking out of the structural steel.
Correct.
So we're taking out the structural steel, which is United Steel, and we're assigning it to Shepherd Steel, which is the Miss Metals package, which is more appropriate for him to do that work. So that results in that double buy at bid time of 2,730.
Good. Thank you very much. Welcome. Questions on any of those? All right, I'm gonna circle back because I think we gotta do these 2 separate motions. So the first motion is to approve the following invoice package for the Farmington Central offices.
Motion.
Second. Motion is second, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Perfect, any opposed? Hearing none. Moving on to 2, to approve the following invoice package for Farmington High School that Nelson just went through.
Motion.
Second.
A motion is second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, unanimous. All right, I'll read through this one. So this is the formal motion on the FF&E presentation that we heard from Susan. So it's can I get a motion to get the Farmington High School building committees to certify the final plans and the project manual that prepared for bidding and dated October 13th, 2023, and the professional cost estimate completed in accordance with level 3 of ASTM International Standard E1557, standard classification of building elements and related to site work, uniform at 2 for the following project, state project number 052-0076N, which is the Farmington High School furniture, fixtures and equipment, phase 3 of 4. Your agenda says 4 of 4, but it's phase 3 of 4, dated October 13, 2023, have been reviewed and approved for this project on October 18th, 2023. Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Anybody want to reread that?
3 and 4, we have one more.
Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. Perfect. Item 4. Can I get a motion to award the contract to Norcom for a radio communication system for Farmington High School in the amount of $66,852.31 under the State of Connecticut DAS contract 19 PSX 0088.
We get a little detail on this.
We're gonna discuss.
Yeah, I'll give the context for that.
Motion.
Okay.
One second. Second. We have a motion, a second. Any discussion?
So this one was something we received last minute before the agenda came out, so it did not have an opportunity to go to the finance subcommittee, but it did go to the decision-making group to review. So basically for this one, and professional partners jump in, or anybody else that's at the OAC meetings, part of the radio coverage and radio communications was designated as owner to furnish when we had the bid time. There was some state grant regarding radios and security, and we were notified recently that that is available now. So because the owner has to furnish it, it is for the high school project. This specific amount, the $66,000, is for internal radio communications for Farmington High School, which is something that is needed, and we were anticipating on the owner paying for it rather than putting it through the bid process. So that's where this came from. Again, has been vetted by the decision-making group, and the proposal that was given to Matt Ross is attached here. We do have the state contract pricing, so we're getting this off of the state of Connecticut contract. So is there anything I missed or any other?
Is it the same with like a bi-directional amplifying system that, or is this?
So there's several components to the antenna system, one of which is allowing the first responders to be able to communicate in the facility. And it's a similar system that you have in your police department and in your schools, certain frequencies and so on. Norcom is the vendor who is providing that service to other facilities in town. They have bid on state contracts, so they have an amount that you can tap into just by looking at the state list. And this is the method that the town administration wanted to proceed with. And so make it eligible for the school. You're going to make it part of the project, but it wasn't purchased.
But the building amplification system is a separate.
We may still need that, or
Part of that system is still carried in the contract, but not provided.
that's already in the GMP.
And they're gonna test to make sure we're able to get enough signal.
And I believe that's also for cellular and
So cellular
is in the job.
This is more emergency.
We don't have any other system now?
It wasn't, I mean, there's a current system in the existing facility, but for the new building, we would have to have a new system. That wasn't bid out.
That's correct.
We can use the old one or
Well, yeah.
I think one's analog and not digital. I think the Matt Ross said that the current one is not digital.
You'd also have to decommission that.
Yeah, great.
You don't want to use.
That's battery. Any questions on that? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. Item 5 is to cancel the November 1st, 2023 FHS Building Committee meeting. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Didn't think so. All right, item I, any other business? Anything else you guys can think of that we didn't cover today? All right, thank you for being patient with us. The walkthrough and everything is a little bit long in the meeting, but I got through a lot. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and a second, and all in favor, say aye. All right. Thank you.
I thought you'd please take the guys tomorrow.
Favors update.